Welcome back. Our first wine of the week tonight comes from Argentina. It's the 2019 Vicente Pearce Malbec. It's discounted from $20 to $15.99 and on sale at all 3 locations of the Global Group here in Western New York. And joining us, it's winemaker to Buffalo, New York, Shawn Pearce. Shawn, how are you tonight?
Thanks so much. Everything's great. Thanks for having me on.
I love it.
Great to meet you.
A Buffalo native, and you're making some wines around the world. I love it. Great to have you on the show. Tell us about this delicious Malbec.
Yeah, so Malbec is the Argentine classic. This wine is 100% Malbec. This is really special. We actually started using 500-liter oak barrels to make this wine. It has really nice structure that comes from that barrel, a nice touch of vanilla, but all the classic Malbec things you get from Argentina, including plum and a lot of fruit, cherry, raspberry, things like that. Really nicely balanced, and you know, we make wines that we love, and we love this wine.
Yes, you do, and this is a great value at $15.99. I did a little research, and I know there's a little story, if we can keep it brief, but how did the Vicente and Pearce families come together?
I mean, really, it's my wife. I met her. She's from Mendoza, Argentina, right? Winemaking capital of Argentina and South America. We met here in the United States, got married. I had this long-term idea of being in the wine business, winemaking or growing grapes. Really loved wine, started a club, wine tasting club in college. And after we got married, I realized someday I'll be able to actually afford a vineyard in Argentina. So that's Familia Vicente Pearce. Vicente, my wife. Pearce is me. And we actually work with her brother-in-law, too, in Argentina, Juan Pablo Vicente. So that's kind of how we all came together. Blame my wife.
So, no, yeah. Where is she? Now, the Western New York roots and Mendoza and Argentina, any personality differences, a likeness to the two cultures? And
amazingly, so we lived in New York City for a while, my wife and I, and people ask how was she convinced to move back to Buffalo from New York City, Argentina, and if you think about these two small-ish cities, Argentina, you know, Mendoza is the second biggest city in Argentina, but the population's only a little bit bigger than Buffalo. You see people drive by on the street that honk and wave out the window. Yeah. You run into a friend in the coffee shop. People show up at your house unannounced in Buffalo and Mendoza. It is really quite a similar, surprisingly, family-friendly culture.
Yeah, and this is a great wine to have here in Western New York. Again, this is the 2019 Vicente Pearce Malbec, discounted at $15.99. You know, and your website, I really enjoyed going through that.
Yes.
And you're very proud, and you've perfected the winemaking process of destemming your grapes. And I was always curious, you see some winemakers use whole clusters and some destem. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in a short answer?
So it's during fermentation really that has the big impact. The stems will add a herbaceous character, it adds more tannin, it adds more structure. You almost can think of it as drinking a black tea. That's the characteristic you can get from stems. It also binds color. Those tannins make a wine keep its color for a very long time. It's more of a popular technique with Pinot Noir than it is with the darker reds because it adds this extra body and this extra color preservation. You'll find you can do experiments of Pinot Noirs, for example, 0% whole cluster, 25%, and 100%. Most people doing whole cluster fermentations don't use all whole clusters. But yeah, there's definitely a good debate about that, of its impact. We don't use it because we think our grapes themselves offer enough tannin, enough color, and we really want to show the vineyard and the grape varietal without having these extra layers. I think the wine's plenty complex how it is now, so we don't use it, but it's definitely an interesting technique that would be fun to experiment with.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about it. We're going to be featuring your coming up next, the Cab Franc, yeah. And you think of Cab Franc and Malbec, what's heavier? So Malbec, would it be a tad lighter in weight than the Cab Franc? And we're going to talk more about the Cab Franc in just a minute.
Sounds good.
So just sit tight there, and we'll pour another glass and get right to it. Again, I'm with Shawn Pearce, the winemaker of our first wine of the week tonight. It's the 2019 Vicente Pearce Malbec, discounted at $15.99.